Mic check.
So someone spilled something in the thing, so you don't hear anything. So yeah, so your drop is getting ready to come on, and then you'll go. So yeah,
So people hear no music or nothing.
they will still hear everything on the outside. You just can't hear it. So you just really gotta pay attention to your works and stuff. So I'm glad I came back in. It was a reason. I have a good show. Okay? No problem.
So, so you came to hear the mic is on now?
Nope, you can't hear anything.
Oh, it's working.
Yes.
Okay. Well, people, I'm back for another exciting evening of the Controversial Counselors Corner on wmskonlineradio.com, the home of the Cheryl Underwood Morning Show. And this week's topic is going to be um, things will never be the same. But before I get into that information, I'll just kind of, fill you in. It's been like a couple weeks since I've been on. Um, with rigor of my schedule, sometimes just shows just don't fall into place certain times. So basically, I'm back this week. Another week, I was sort of like on a mini vacation because this summer I've been pushed to the limits as far as work with everything that I'm doing at work. So getting ready for this school year. So it's rapidly approaching. I needed a little time to kind of get things back in line. And so I'm refreshed, rejuvenated, and hopefully I'll get some good feedback from you individuals and hopefully new people will chime in because that's what makes this show goes is when you have individuals that's willing to participate. So again, that's pretty much that's that. Thursday, I had opportunity to go to Syracuse, was a part of a radio interview with my man Keenan Lewis on the I Know I Can program. So that was definitely a good conversation. Then Friday, went to Buffalo, New York, was part of a little wine tasting, Friday wine down with Tiffany Cook. So I had a great time with that too. Just, I guess, anytime you have the opportunity when it's just you and one other guy who's like the owner of the place and you're amongst women and, you're getting their perspective and their insight, it's always cool. So I definitely appreciated that. A lot of good feedback. It was just a great all around session and hopefully I'll have the opportunity to do more because I think they're meaningful, and I think it's a good opportunity for you to be able to be in the open, get out, and voice some of your concerns in regards to relationships and any other topics that happen to come up. Okay, I see Lady Jazz is watching. How you doing, Mona? Wanda was good. Who else? Who else? We got Miss Shannon. Thanks for joining. So again, tonight's topic is going to be um, things will never be the same. So basically, what that derived from is, you hear that quite often. We talk about the way that things are going in this day and age, and we always make reference, as they call us now, the old heads, make reference to when we were growing up, how things were so different. So, I'm just going to talk about a couple of different scenarios, other talking points. I'm probably going to be all over the place because that's just where I'm at right now, all over the place. And and that's again due to the hecticness of getting prepared for um, you know school year at the middle school. So just bear with me, and you'll find out throughout my conversations can go all over the place anyway, but they always seem connected. So we're gonna talk about that. So the way things used to be, and I'm guilty of that as well, talking about how things used to be. And there's so many layers to that. When you talk about the way things used to be in school when we were growing up, that you went to school, um, pretty much teachers were able to teach and use their creativity. And it wasn't teaching to a test, so they kind of added their own personal connections in. Parents were usually on board with teachers, so if you got a phone call, you were going to be, in some type of trouble. Compared to nowadays, again, I'm always going to talk about technology where children are texting their parents before teachers even get a chance to call, and it seems like parents are automatically jumping on the side of their children. Now, don't get me wrong, that sometimes us as educators and adults could be wrong. Many times we may be wrong, but for the most part, I just think as a parent or an adult, you need to hear both sides. And trust me, you know your child as well as also understanding that they may act a certain way around you at home, but once they get through those doors, it can be totally something different because they got to, the lights is on, they got to impress their peers. So that's one of the things people always talk about how schools have changed. And I would always make reference uh, to schools in making, sort of, I don't want to say condescending comment, but almost like, why do we even call it schools anymore when we're everything else? I mean, I always say the ideal, if I was some rich Mongol type person who had major money, I always say that I would open up a school and it would have a wing of the school for like homeless students and families, and it would have 24-hour care. You'd have residential aides there in the evening time. Social service would be connected to school. We would have a counselor or a therapist there. We would have somebody from the Department of Social Services, and we would have all these different agencies at school, so it could be like a one-stop shop. Because really, in all sincerity, we're carrying on that load and doing all those things or making referrals to all these different agencies. And we still spend a great deal of time um, doing that. We got Karen Rockmore on. What up, Fred? Fred, my man from North Ave. That theme was good. Cheryl, how you doing? Michelle. Definitely has a thought. You need to investigate both sides and make rational conclusions about the situation. Tell your teachers to join their union. Yes, school is a building that doesn't just teach. Teachers are counselors, nurses, aunts, and social workers. Many of our teachers are a part of the union, but you know, with that, a lot of times people don't want to go directly to the union over every every little thing. So you get that deducted out. And the union is useful, is powerful, but I'm just saying little basic day-to-day little stuff that has changed that kind of impacts the day-to-day school and how it's ran and why sometimes children are not learning as much as they're capable of learning. So that's one of the things I just kind of think about, like back in the days how schools used to be. What else we got on here? Hey, how you doing, Donna? Also, when you think about relationships, community. Remember back in the days, I talk about, I often talk about this when your neighborhood was policed by the neighborhood. You looked, parents and adults looked out for each other. Um, there's not too many things you can pull over anyone's eyes there because you had so many eyes watching you. So you kind of knew what to do and what not to do. So those things were, that was important. But nowadays, you, one of the things is you have a lot of transient people that move in the neighborhood, then they're gone 3 or 4 months later, and you see a lot of that going on where you never really get to know anyone. And a lot of times people don't even they can live somewhere for years and don't know anyone's name on their street, and that's kind of bad because at that point you don't have too many people looking out for you. Prime example, I'm irritated if someone seen my video last week. Hey, I want to talk about that. I got to get that off my chest too. 'Cause that's what I do in the counselor's corner. My vehicle was vandalized. Somebody threw a brick through it, and I believe it's all because I had a little box in my back seat with miscellaneous stuff. And they would have, if one of my older neighbors didn't wake up, and if they would have uh, got in the car and got to that box, they would have found out, like, damn, I did all of this for the little stuff that he has in there. But that's just where we're at, the type of world that we live in. That is probably somebody lives right across the street, right around the corner, and and just to destroy somebody else's property. I just can't get down with that. That means that schools back in the day were able to teach, and now you have technology, and that is seriously implemented within the curriculum. So there's a lack of relationship building. Yeah, that is so true. And most of the people who build relationships with young people still, no matter what, implement their old school ways of doing things. They take the time to talk. They share personal, self-disclosed personal stories with students, and that's only certain students because I used to appreciate when I had a teacher that would give me a personal connection to whatever we were discussing. But nowadays, kids will tune that out, and they will say, I don't want to hear about that stuff. That was 30 years ago. Things are different now. And things are different. And that doesn't mean they're necessarily right. What's going on, Reverend Charles? Glad you can join me again. Appreciate you, brother. So, that's that's where we at as far as that. Then relationship wise, so there's so many different variables on why things will probably never be the same again. As much as we want to talk about it, they're not going to be the same. But I guess we're going to be called to task to see how could we meet this generation or meet these issues halfway, so we can kind of get some type of resolution if that's possible. But I got a couple. Keep my little talking points going on. So we're gonna get to that information right now. And again, like when I mentioned, things will never be the same. And even when you think about um, when you lose a loved one, like when your man or some lose their mother, and how that impacts individuals, that would create that atmosphere that things will not be the same. It kind of kills kills certain individual souls that they don't want to. They're living, but are they really living? Because a part of them has been removed, and they kind of shut down and not functioning at the level probably that they should be. So when we look at that, there are so many things that impact us as far as relationships, parents, workers, siblings. any other capacity you could think of in life. And I know this from personal experiences because I like to, I'll self-disclose on my show. Um, when I think about my father, I strongly believe that once my father lost his mother, he lost his ability to be great and gave up in every facet of his life. This is the case with many men who struggle as partners and parents. And it's just not men, but I'm just focusing on men in this particular um, time frame. Um, they lose maybe the one constant in their life and struggle to cope. People need to understand what seems to be obvious that he's just a he's just not a no good man. It goes much deeper than what you can see on the surface. So I'm gonna go into some talking points about that shortly, but I'm gonna go pay a few bills, and we'll be right back. And you're listening to the Controversial Counselor's Corner on wmskonlineradio.com, the home of the Cheryl Underwood Morning Show. Tonight's topic is things will never be the same. We'll be right back. And how you doing, Ebony Swanson? And just remember, I am not the owner of this music. I am not the owner. So don't even try to give me credit for it because I don't want it. Jamia Wilson was good. Oh, they sell peace. So, people that's watching now, what are some things that y'all see when you think of this subject matter that things will never be the same? What do you sit around and discuss with some of your friends or your mates or siblings that kind of bother you? Because these things, ultimately, everybody wants to be happy and live in peace. But there are certain things that's just going on in this world now that causes a lot of dysfunctions. Zilla, BCPS people, Robbie Brown, how you doing? Somebody give me something to work with. What are some of the things that you look at that won't be the same that you kind of wish would go back to the way it used to be? Kathy Patterson, how you doing? I'm gonna dive into this relationship piece because as my one counselor, I always speak on him. Probably one of my favorite counselor instructors. He always talked about relationships are everything, and which is true. Relationship building. Trump getting away with so many things. Yeah, he is, but I believe that's just the way they wanted it designed. Like unnecessary gun violence. If we ever had a problem, we should be able to fight one on one, and then probably become friends after that. And if not, we fight again until we have enough. Yeah, that's definitely a critical thing, and I can speak to that because I think, and Fred, from growing up on North Avenue, that was the center of our day. It was always some type of little scuffle, and it was all in love, slap boxing, wrestling. It was always some form of something. So you had no choice but to have some type of skill. Either you were good at wrestling or you were good at boxing. But I think a lot of times now, even when I, you know, see these young people and just their position, their stance, and when they're even playing around horse playing, they have no idea on what they're doing. And I don't know. We could blame it and say, man, maybe they don't have any male figures in their life, and that could be true. And I was just fortunate that, my father, he wasn't around too long, but we had a lot of I had adopted big brothers growing up that were, 3, 4 years older than me, and they kind of looked out and they kind of roughed us up. So we had no choice. You were going to get it anyway. So I think that is a critical point about the gun violence that everybody saw them things with guns, and they're not valuing that this is it. You shoot somebody, they're dead, they're gone. And these are the same people that you grew up with, hung out with, drank with, ate with, spent the night over each other's house. Parents know each other, and it's like final. They're not getting that, and they're not understanding that. I did that without even making irrational decisions, and now my life is gone. And not also thinking about more than likely that was somebody's father, that was somebody's son, brother, and you may have children, and now you're going to be removed from their life for the rest of their lives. It's crazy. It's crazy to even think that. Like as mad as I could get over certain things, I know that for one, I ain't ready to die. I ain't ready to go to no jail for no long periods of time. So in that case, that makes me say, nah, I'm not for that business. So therefore, sometimes you just have to, as people say, stay in your own lane or just, keep it moving and try to avoid those type of situations. That was a good point. I appreciate that, brother Fred. Yeah, and the comment made about Trump. Yeah, we in office, and now we got to deal with this. But I like to tell everybody, I can't worry about that. I can't worry about what Trump is doing. I have to focus on myself. I have to keep moving. Yeah, I'm going to be impacted by some of the decisions he's making, but I can't sit around and think about that all day. Zeth Ray, one of my favorite people in the world, campaign. How you doing? So I can't, and it's like it's something every day, and he loves it. He loves the attention. So I have to focus on what I can focus and control what I can control, and just do that. And I advise other people to do it. You don't go damn crazy worrying about the next move that this man is gonna make. So that's what I have to say as far as that. So I haven't went back live yet, but we about to go back live in a second. In fact, we're gonna do it right now because I like to keep the conversation flowing, and any lapse in that kind of, I know it's getting late when people retire, so you gotta try to keep it moving. All right, we back live on the Controversial Counselors Corner. If you're just joining us tonight, the topic is things will never be the same. So basically, I've been just talking about a few things that kind of annoyed me that changed since when we grew up and how things were different for our schools, relationships, just little things. So I welcome you to chime in and give your feedback on your stance or take on that subject, and I love for participation because that gives me more information to work with. So before I went on break, I was talking about like far as men losing their mothers, how that impacts more than we think it does as far as relationships. Because you got to consider that mothers are the ones that keep their emotional side in perspective. The mothers are the ones who teach us that nurturing role. Not saying fathers can't do it, but typically it usually comes from mothers. Once a man loses his mom, he becomes sometimes cold and distant, and that's not all men, because unfortunately people don't want to believe this or not. Some people just don't have good relationships with their parents, and so it's not. These are not the absolutes. It's not 100%. But I'm just saying, on the on the whole, that I think that's has a lot to do with some of the issues. Mothers are the ones that sons can count on and will go to when they are in a bad spot. I mean, you can always count on again, again. And I'm all, when you talk about this, I'm only speaking from through my lenses and how I can count on my mother, my grandmother, and that may not be the case for all, but that was the case for me. And when I was in a bad spot, I can always count on them. And remember, I like to self-disclose and tell little stories, and I can remember this. And I don't think things like this typically happen in this day and age, but I was in my last in college. So I go to register. They tell me I have a bill. I don't know, about $700. I'm like, excuse my language, shit, I ain't got $700. Nowhere near it. So I call my mother. Now, mind you, she has four children. So, things were, it was a struggle at times, but we had a good, strong family support, and we worked together to try to overcome different things. Okay, shout outs. How you doing, Sue? Trevor, thanks for joining. So, so I had this bill 700. Asked my mother. She said she can have it. So she said maybe you need to call your grandmother. And I'm thinking like, why the hell am I got to call her? Why can't you call her? That's your mother. And I was being a jerk then. So I end up calling my grandmother, and I was like frantic, and she was like, what's wrong? She called me names. She was like, what's wrong? And I said that, I think I had tears, was crying like, I got a bill of like $700, and I'm not gonna be able to graduate. And I've been here all this time, and now I won't be able to graduate because I can't register for my classes. Without any hesitation, she was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I got you. I just put it on my credit card, and I have my grandfather come up there and meet us, tell us where we need to go, we'll meet, and we'll pay it on Friday." So always easing my discomfort, and I was really upset. But then, one of my assignments was to do like a genogram and go through and look at history of your family. Um, and I interviewed my grandmother, and she kind of told me what she made, how much she ended up making when she retired. So I call my grandmother today. I don't want to put your business out there, but that was back then. I'm just amazed at how she was able to hold it down with that little bit of income. I think she said when she retired, she was making like seven something an hour. And I know things are much different now, but if you can imagine, I don't even know, even if we were back in those days when everything was that cheap, I'm pretty sure that our generation would not be able to function and would not be able to maintain the way that our mothers and grandparents did. And even my grandfather, he kept new cars in his game, co-signed for people to get cars, and he might end up making like 10 an hour. But that just shows you that they didn't spend money foolishly. They worked together and they had a lot with just a little. So that's one of the things that's different now. See, the problem now is it's too many of us trying to keep up with the Joneses. We want to have everything. We're in this big competition that if somebody goes out and get a new car, you got to try to outdo it. You go to somebody's house and they got new furniture, or they got this, or they got a 65, 75 inch, you got to do it. And people need to stop doing that. And that's, that creates a lot of chaos for us because we're not being real with ourselves. Catherine, how you doing? Jay, Nika, how you doing? Thanks for joining. So that was one of the things that was different, and I, you know, always appreciate my grandparents, my aunts, and everybody that helped along the way. All right, number the third point. Many guys can't get off the nipple, and once separated from mom, they struggle in any meaningful relationship. So again, sometimes it's more than what you think with people, and you always have to go back and I talk about this on a regular basis and kind of figure out people's background. And if they're not willing to share it with you, you also have to question that. I mean, of course, you don't want to beat nobody down for information, but certain times, or if years go by and you're with that individual, or you should be able to read body language or facial expressions to know what's going on with your mate. It should be like clockwork. If you don't, and you can't figure it out, then you need to step to the left and work on something different. You heard it, that's right. But who am I? Again, I'm just a counselor. Eric Rick Decree, thanks for joining. And the fourth point I want to make on that, if anyone has a man back, it would be his mother. Once she's gone, things will never be the same. So, we all have to try to just do a better job appreciating our mothers that's still around. I read the pain and I hear the pain in the other individuals' voices when they talk about their parents not being around. My father's not around, but things wasn't always great. I still wish he was around, and I think we could have, at this stage, I think we could have kind of mended those issues, but again, just have to keep moving as far as that. So appreciate people that appreciate you. That's the piece I want to add to that. Now, what comes out of that is, let me get that Daphne's point. It's definitely more than getting off their mom's nipple. You try to know that person and they're good at hiding certain things. You should have to lose. You shouldn't have to lose your mom in order to gain perspective. Yeah, you should. I shouldn't at all. I mean, that stuff should be like a natural flow. That should be brought up in conversation. You should be able to know about family members or people once he bring them up. You already know what they said or how they would handle a situation because you heard about these people so frequently and y'all shared and disclosed personal stories and situations, and that's how things should be. My man, Big Raj, was good. So you're definitely right. It shouldn't have to be that way, Daphne. But unfortunately, sometimes it is. And check this out: when you talk about fathers or men losing their moms, then it comes with the cycle of talking about these mama's boys that have been created as well. Separate. I always taught that parents' job is to prepare children on all levels, financially and spiritually. Yeah, I mean, if that's not what you're in it for, then I don't, it's hard to say. I don't know why you became a parent because it's too late to say that, but that should be your goal. You should always, eventually, you should try to get them the tools so they can be better than what you, so that they can live a more productive life and the cycle continues and it goes on. But too many times We have situations where the vicious cycle, one generation is in a rut, then it just goes on, and it's generation after generation after generation that can't break that curse or get out that rut. So somebody has to be the one to break it. What's going on, Genesis? Glad you can join us. So again, sometimes you have men that are too close to their mother, and they create this baby Jody approach or this mama's boy type of syndrome, and that's happening more frequent than ever now. When you know, growing up in our day, you were taught to be a man. There were certain things that just wasn't gonna fly. And Philio, thanks for joining. And I know my grandfather had a lot of isms about this or that, about being a man and certain things that you can't do and you shouldn't do. And we used to hear it over and over. And I'm sure I'll get into a few of those. But so here's an open confession for someone who said they were dealing with that baby boy approach or that mama's boy. They said I have once dated a guy. His name is Joey, who was mama's boy. Everything he did or had to do, he had to do what mommy says. We went on until I got tired. It was impossible to have a simple conversation or relationship with him without his mom saying or concluding virtually everything we did. If he bought me a gift, his mother would say, "It's not her birthday, so why are you buying this?" She was always trying to look down on me and always bumping into us, even when we were having alone time. Until one day I got tired. It was simply impossible. I was about the only young woman who was patient until I had it up to here and I walked away. Nobody was good enough for her son. And up until now, Jody is not married, although we still talk like two friends. Wow. Okay, let's see what Daphne has to say. I was married to a mama's boy and dropped him right back at his mama's house. And it's sad that so many men that live off of females and do not have an issue with it either. Manhood is not taught. Okay, we got Bree. Thanks for joining. Yeah, and I had an irritation about that the other day about living off of women. What I can't absolutely stand to see if I'm in Walmart, Target, or Shoppers or some store, and it's that time of the month, and a lady has her kids, and she's using her benefits, and you have some grown ass man pushing the cart or just throwing things in there and happy as I don't know what. Happy as I don't know what. That irritates the hell out of me because if I believe if you're a man and you got a woman and if she's struggling, you need to help her find a way to get out of it. And you have to be that leader to show her better. Because to me that's just it's not cool. Especially if you able to do it, you're healthy, you're young, or whatever the case is. No, there's no excuse for that, and that just drives me crazy. I just say, look at this, and it's ridiculous. Okay, definitely. Some mothers are jealous of the other woman that has their son's interest. Yeah, that's a whole nother dynamic, and probably is a whole nother show in itself. And I wonder why we have so much dysfunction going on. We have so much dysfunction going on and so many things that we have to worry about. How do we overcome this? I know some of you are going to say we should pray. And I guess I wouldn't be controversial if I didn't say that. But if that's the only thing you're doing and it's not working, when do you try something else? Because sometimes that's just not the only solution. Sometimes you got to be able to go out there and just get it, and you have to be able to find strength to do it. So, go going to church on Sundays, listening to the word, and just praying, and things still ain't working your way. And I understand patience and all of that as well. But damn, when years go by, sooner or later, you got to run out of patience and say, look, I got to do something else. Because you know that's the definition of insanity. Prayer is good, but action has to follow a solution. That's true. And a lot of people just talk and they don't can't put out that work, that action. They can't give out that work. They can't put out, and they're not used to doing it, so it's just talk. Okay. So yeah, the open confession. So she had a baby. She had a Jody, a baby boy, a mama's boy, and fellas, man, you gotta you gotta do better than that. And some people think it's cool to leech off of women or sit around with their boys and talk about it, how they don't have to do much. She takes care of this and that. I'm just not cut like that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's just not a part of my DNA. And they brought up another few little points I want to talk about. Actually, I got a lot of points, but these are some real short ones. And I kind of talked about this earlier, but it was one of the things that kind of, again, irritated and annoyed me. The simple fact this welfare mentality has to stop. Murders, thefts, and vandalisms all over the place. And you mad at Trump. It's called displaced anger. I posted that maybe last weekend or something, and I got a lot of strife about posting that. But when I posted it, when I say welfare mentality, yeah, I know what it is. I mean, people made a big deal of what's acting poor, and I'm sure your mother, your grandmother have told you some of the things. Don't act poor, or and these are little examples of you going to somebody's house and they will say, okay, make sure you eat before you go. If they offer you something, you already ate. You don't got to go over there acting like you ain't ate, act like you don't got nothing. So that's that mentality of acting poor. So when I say people with this welfare mentality, you know, and I don't want to link directly welfare to murders, but the thefts and vandalisms and stuff like that stuff has to stop. It's not yours to take, and people are doing too much of that. Breaking into people's houses, going around grabbing car handles to see if the car open and stealing. That's something that parents have most parents would have taught you from a young age. And if not, you still learn that stuff in school about not touching something that doesn't belong to you. Definitely. One of my sons is mad at me because I refuse to treat him like his nana treats his father, and I'm considered a bad mom. I allow him to become the person he needs to while away at college. Unfortunately, yeah, there's more I could go into as far as that, but definitely keep doing you, keep being strong, and keep leading by example. And eventually, your sons they'll get it, and they'll see the strong fixture that you are, and the consistency that you display. Hey, how you doing, Maya? Thanks for joining. And there's no boundaries that has been established from the beginning. Yeah, and that's kind of sad as well. Hey, it's that time for me to take another quick, little segment to pay some more bills. And just give me a moment and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Controversial Counselor's Corner on wmskonlineradio.com, the home of the Cheryl Underwood Morning Show. I'll be right back. Yeah, gotta establish those boundaries. in early so people can know whether it's young men, young ladies, you have to establish them and you have to kind of teach them right from wrong. You have to, it gets to a point that you have to be like a tape recorder. You have to keep saying it because many people don't know the art of teaching. There's four simple things to teaching, and the great John Wooden said it about teaching. Teaching is demonstration. So obviously, as a parent, you want to model on some of the things that you should do or how you should act. Then there's imitation, and hopefully you get that imitation part that they try it out and try to implement that into their lives. There's correction. So obviously, sometimes, as you're growing up, even as far as in school, you don't know everything. So you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get corrected. You got to be able to take constructive criticism. And then there's repetition. You just do it over and over. So that's the cycle of life, whatever. You're gonna learn something, you're gonna fall down, you gotta be able to get back up. Sometimes after falling down too many times, you'll listen and say, okay, my mother or my father said this, or my teacher said this, my uncle, so I'm not gonna go that route and I'm gonna try something different. Uh, Kalila, thanks for joining. Keisha, also thanks for joining. Daphne, I saw on Facebook that Oprah stated that it's okay to divorce your friends and family and set boundaries of how they are to treat you, and you can allow them back in your life when they come to their right minds. Yeah, I think that's a good point. A lot of times people have issues with setting those boundaries or divorcing people because they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or they don't want to make it seem like that they think they're better than people. But I just think that sometimes you have to have that time away from people and you got to let them see that their world, I like to say the miracle question. What I'm looking, is your world better with or without someone? So sometimes people have to see that maybe their world is not better when you're not in it, or it's better when you're involved in it. But if you step away from it, then that's a perfect way to show them that this is how it's going to go down. Because time is short, patience is short, people got too much to do, and stress shouldn't be a part of your equation, especially stress that you can kind of control. Right. So definitely appreciate your dialogue. Definitely. Anybody else got anything they want to add to it? 'Cause we just getting started. We're about an hour into the show. Got like 1 hour left, so we're gonna pick it up with some, scenarios and things like that to kind of dissect and kind of look at, and you can see how certain people's behavior happens when you don't rectify them or set. I'm just looking on time. Again, I like to keep it moving, but I'm going let everything I'm gonna let everything play out. What we got here? What we got here? Michelle, who is more at fault when a 34-year-old still lives at home and doesn't appear interested in leaving? The parent or the child? Are they helping or hurting each other? It's a couple ways to look at that. It's a couple ways to look at that. All right, let me see what that means to say. I'm saying that some of my male students have an understanding to a certain degree about manhood and how they want to be treated. That's good. I want to go back to Michelle's stuff. There's a couple ways to look at it, and hear me out on this one. 34, hopefully, you know, you're finding your way of independence and being able to kind of navigate and be able to live on your own. I think sometimes children or young people are rushing to be grown and running out and not really setting themselves up to be in a position to, live on their own. But also, when you look at that, say for example, if your parent has, a nice sized house, a duplex or whatever, and you decide to stay there and you giving her money directly, probably not giving her as much as you would give someone else. Uh, but what would be the difference of you staying there, helping your mother or your parents out by giving them, I don't know, 500 a month, and or going somewhere else and paying someone else that money? If you know what I mean, like what would be the difference? So I can see the helping and the hurting part, but I think if it's helping both of you and money is being saved, then I think sometimes that's not a bad move. But if you're someone that's bumming and not working and you're just staying there and your parents are allowing, then it's certainly hurting you and going to hurt any potential relationship that you have in the future because you're going to be enabled and you're going to think everybody's supposed to do that for you. Okay, Reginald, thanks for joining. Easy E was good. So, definitely, at 34, he should have had the experience of being independent. However, internally, you should want to be independent to have the freedom of being your own boss, so to speak. And sometimes it may take you longer, and maybe that might be the goal for some people to say, "Hey, I'm gonna milk this train with my parents. They're all right with the money that I'm giving them. I'm saving, and I'm about to make some moves, and this is the reason why I'm doing it." But people don't look at it like that. They'll automatically look at it as, you're just staying with their mother or father. And they look at it in a negative way. So they're both enabling each other. What's going on, Daniel Bryant, brother? Uh, well, yeah, in that sense, if the person's not doing anything, if the person has a goal and a plan in mind, and he says, "Mom or Dad, at 35, I'm going to be out of here. I've saved enough money. My credit is in place, and I'm going to get my own home." That's different if you're working towards a goal. But if you don't have no goal or no purpose, then certainly you're both hurting. They are hurting each other. So let's get back to this. Okay, we're back live on Controversial Counselor's Corner, and we got some good dialogue going on. And the show theme tonight is things will never be the same. So we're talking about certain situations, whether it's financially, a couple scenarios right now. We were just talking about a 34-year-old staying at his uh, parents' house. Um, the parents hurting him, or is he hurting them? And they're enabling them. So you have to look at it in different ways. So I'm trying to put a positive spin on it. You know me, I don't always do that. All right. Definitely strategy and goal within a specific time frame is necessary. Uh, says absolutely. And those would be called, because I've talked about this before, those would be called SMART goals. And for the acronym SMART, goals that are specific, that you know what you want to do, goals that are measurable, that you can kind of measure and see where you're at, goals that are attainable. It has to be something that you can actually accomplish, uh, goals that are relevant, and goals that are timely. So those would be called SMART goals. So, you have to make them smart and make it work for you. If goals don't make sense and you know you can't attain them, then you have to set realistic goals. Sean, thank you for joining. All right, so uh, moving along, some other points I want to make. This black on black crime, it's like cancer. It's destroying too many of us. I can go on and on. That's a whole nother subject matter. But personally, I'm sick of it. You get tired of watching the news or scrolling through social media and seeing us kill each other. It's senseless. It doesn't make sense, and this is just creating a lot of pain. We walk around with a lot of pain and hurt because we're losing people to people that probably again know each other, and that's so aggravating to me to even think about taking somebody's life when there's other ways that you can solve it. Michelle Starwork Williams, thanks for joining. Then, you know, Auntie Millie, this is like I said, I'm gonna be all over the place, so just stay with me. She said one of the key things as far as killers, and she was speaking on man. She said number one, when men are not able to cut off their ex. Two, controlling behaviors, and three, getting too comfortable. So you see a lot of that. Before I go on that, see what Daphne has to say. Black on black crime in our community and within our families. As an educator, I have taken periods on trauma, on taking PDs on trauma informed care. Yeah, and I think probably a lot of educators and people need to take PDs on that because we're living in that type of society. I mean, never have I seen so many young kids come to school and they're losing their parents, they're losing brothers, they're OD, they're overdosing, and your heart goes out to these young people because they're like 10, 11, 12, and they're already losing their parents to like, crime, drugs, and stuff like that. It's so sad and disheartening. And you wonder, and me as a counselor, when you look in their face, you have nothing. You just have to feel compassion for them and think like, man, you just don't know how you're gonna make it through, and you just hope for the best. But this stuff is happening, so we definitely need more stuff dealing with trauma. And about those relationship killers, Auntie Millie said, yeah, we know sometimes people are not willing to cut off their ex, and that creates a lot of turmoil in relationships, controlling behaviors, and just getting too comfortable in relationships. Sometimes that happens a lot too. You can't focus on the schoolwork when real work events have ripped them to shreds and tried to put their lives in some order. Yes, it is. School is the last thing on their mind, and a lot of times you may be doing damage control and just trying to keep them afloat. Just you're just happy that they're coming and they're putting out effort. So when you know certain things about certain children, you kind of you stall them out. You cut them some slack because you say to yourself, man, they're not thinking about this pre-algebra test or world cultures. They got bigger fish to fry. I'm just happy to see them, and especially if they're there and they're smiling and they're just trying to get through. Terrell Williams was good. Thanks for joining us. Sheila Smith also. Thank you for joining. So you're definitely making some great points, guys. All right. This is what Granny said. She said the problem with some of the women today, they talk too much. Stop sharing your business with everyone. These people out here mean you no good. They want your man when you're doing good as well as doing bad, family included. So again, I'm all over the place, but all of this stuff is relevant. And this is what Granny's saying in this day and age. She's saying, women, y'all talking too damn much. And you're sharing stuff to people who sit back and they just making moves and countering what you're saying. She said, stop running your mouth and stop telling people everything and live your life. And because people are secretly plotting on you when you're doing so much talking to any and everyone. Ariana, my good peoples from 60th Street, Lacelle Senior, how you doing, young lady? That was just the point. So marinate on that. What Granny had to say about that. Now, here's a scenario that is kind of related to when you have that guy that's controlling. Uh, you enable him, and then this behavior comes out when things don't go his way. So it's called No More Peanut Sticks. And I had posted it earlier. Granny is right. My mom told me that you keep your business to yourself, and people, including family, are dream killers. Mm-hmm. Dream killers. Well, I can't stand a dream killer. All right, so let me tackle this scenario. No more peanut sticks. So Milton and Vicky have been together over 12 years, and she worked for Dominic's Donuts during that entire time. The one thing for sure Milton can count on was Vicky bringing a dozen of peanut sticks home every night. Milton was addicted to them and could never get tired of eating them. Suddenly one day, Vicky did not bring any peanut sticks home, and Milton chalked it up as okay, maybe she was really busy. When it happened 3 days in a row, Milton became suspicious and wondered why they changed up after she was a model of consistency for so many years. And all of a sudden, 3 days without any peanut sticks, what would Milton do? Well, Milton decided one night to ride his bike up to Dominic's Donuts and hide out in the cut to see what would have Vicky distracted. What Milton saw was Vicky at the corner having an intimate conversation with a coworker. So when Milton and Vicky walked home, they exchanged some heated words, which carried over to the house. Once they got into the house, the argument intensified from verbal to physical, and that is when Milton pushed Vicky through the patio door, and she was seriously hurt. Cuts, broken arm, and bruises, all over a peanut stick. Well, where did Vicky and Milton go wrong? Is it change up in routine from one partner in a relationship an indication that the relationship is going sour? So I know some of you may say, you gotta be kidding me. Somebody spazzing out over peanut sticks. But again, the issues are there's more pertinent information and more pertinent issues than just her not bringing home the peanut sticks. For one, I'm gonna have a problem uh, if I was a woman and he has to come pick me up and he's riding his damn bike and he's walking with me and we're walking side by side. Unless you on some health kick or whatever, but if that's his main mode of transportation, uh, I'm gonna be irritated about that. And another thing is, why in the hell is a man you'll be sitting around worried about some damn peanut sticks when you should be at work or doing something, work, getting ready to go to work or whatever the case is. Her change up a routine definitely had him thinking. So now maybe she was a little uncomfortable or was getting a little frustrated in this relationship and found somebody with a common interest at work that she started talking to and sharing different things without telling Milton. So those is just like three like basic things, but definitely never you wanted to get to the point that you push someone through a glass patio and um, especially a woman and they're cut up, bruised up, broken arms and all that stuff. That's pathetic. That's pathetic, and that's being real low line. But as crazy as this may sound, I can't make this stuff up. This is a real situation. Can't make it up. It's real. And this comes from the exact things that we talk about, not being able to set positive boundaries. Being complacent in a relationship and, it just dealing with stuff instead of, trying to progressively move forward. Um, I seriously feel that Victor should have said something the first day she didn't bring home the peanut stick. And you need to have relationship check-ins to make sure things are on track. Make sure things are on track before it blew up. But she valued that person's opinion to try to get what she's feeling. Yeah, nothing wrong with having that little probation period for that conversation to see where you're going. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a good idea. I just don't know how many guys um, are gonna want to hear it, and I know a lot of times women want to know. They want to check in and say, "Are we okay? Are we all right?" And you know, set goals and things like that for the future. So I definitely could see where that could have been implemented um, in this particular situation because it seemed like Vicky had she worked at the same spot for 12 years. Hopefully she got a promotion during that time. But I just also want to know what was Milton doing during that time. Was that his thing just to sit around? Was he collecting social services, social security check? What was his game plan? Terry Buckles, um, Raul. Yes, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but thanks for joining. Definitely appreciate it. Um, all right, so going back to this mama's boy, I wonder if Milton was a mama's boy. But how did your man become a mama's boy, and what are you going to do about it? And I know that we kind of talked about that before, so I don't want to belabor that point. But I think what I do want to do is talk about some reasons why some men do become mama's boy. And it can start off by too much cuddling from his mother, but in turn she is looking for male attention because sometimes mothers may pamper little boys too much and you know cuddling with them and different things like that and not letting them find their way. Also, due to their closeness, Jody and his mom, he feels obligated to remain close in his mom's life. So, because of all that coddling and cuddling throughout the years, he has issues with, going his way. He believes that he always has to be there and be present in his mother's life, and that's not always the case. You can still love from afar, still check in, still spend quality time, but it shouldn't have to. It doesn't need to be a day-to-day type of thing. Mom and son become afraid to be independent of each other. You just have that. You see movies and things like that all the time, where you have dominating mothers that want to control every facet of their son's life, and it makes them hard to even move forward in a relationship with parents keep their children emotionally hostage. True indeed, true indeed. Sometimes boys develop the Oedipus complex and becomes fixated with their mother. And it's difficult for her to maintain a healthy relationship. And it's hard for him to commit to another woman. And that could be you. You could be in that situation where you have some young men who don't want any other man around their mother, and they'll do anything um, to block it, and vice versa. A mother may not think any woman is worthy of being with their Jody or Melvin, and she's always gonna have her input, and he's gonna value it, and that can lead to problems down the line. We're moving right along. We're moving right along. Still got some more stuff. Keep the conversation flowing. Got another one. Remember, Granny said that women talk too much. So this is another scenario. Sherry Kane, how you doing? Ezra and Wanda have been dating for 6 months, and both are career-minded and focused. Ezra was an assistant director at a juvenile detention home, while Wanda was a social worker at a nursing home. Despite their demanding jobs, both had their passions. Ezra was working on developing an urban t-shirt business, where the theme was creating t-shirts with black historical figures with, with one of their well-known quotes, ranging from Frederick Douglass, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." George Washington Carver, "When there is no vision, there is no hope." Another deep. Muhammad Ali said, "It's a lack of faith that makes people afraid of meeting challenges, and I believe in myself." Greatest. Barack Obama said, "If you're walking down the right path and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you'll make progress." Definitely, keep walking, keep grinding, keep knocking at that door. You'll make progress if you stay consistent. Wanda was one of the best jewelry makers around. Due to their demanding jobs and their other business, they barely had time to see each other on a consistent basis. But when they spoke on the phone, Wanda dominated the entire conversation. If they set aside an hour to catch up on what's been going on in each other's life, Wanda would dominate, but her input would be negative. Complaints about her job, family, the jewelry business, and ex-husband. Eventually, Ezra grew tired of listening to this same old song over and over, and he was looking for balance, someone he could share his world with, and that was not happening with Wanda. When he wanted her to talk between the sheets, she was typically quiet. Go figure. Eventually, they had a massive blow up when Ezra had enough and told Wanda she talks too damn much, and he did not want to hear another damn thing about her ex. And nothing negative about her job. In this day and age, she should be blessed that she's even working. Wanda felt he was rude, and they ended what they had. Do you think? Uh, do you think Ezra was insensitive, and Wanda was better off without Ezra? So as you can see, there's a lot going on in that particular scenario. Camille Cunningham, another one of my favorite people in this world. Man, things is just great when y'all chime in and support me. So here you have it. Two um, business-minded people, two professionals that's working, and so trying to balance off quality time, but you have uh, Unfortunately, Wanda, that's dominating the whole conversation, and Ezra felt like didn't really feel validated. Didn't feel like he could never talk about any of his personal goals or desires or concerns because she dominated the whole conversation. Dietrich Muhammad was good, brother. Uh, so, what do y'all think about that? There was a couple questions. Do y'all think Ezra was rude in his approach? Was Wanda better off without him? I just said that Frederick Douglass quote to my son. He said, Wanda didn't know how to navigate the entire situation. She talked too much about an ex instead of allowing him to speak. She was inconsiderate. Yeah, I mean, I don't know too many people that want to hear about somebody's ex on a regular basis because that typically they say that you're still bitter and you're really not over that person. So maybe Ezra was looking for a way out because he knew that she needed to focus her energies uh, elsewhere because it definitely wasn't on him. It appeared that way. So he had a blow up. Probably could have said it in a different way, but sometimes when you hold stuff in, this is these are the consequences that may happen. So be it. Randy always said, women stop talking so much. Let the man talk. Hear what they got to say. Here, like I said, I'm all over the place. I like to change up things. Here's another little scenario. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about this. Steve, Derek, and Roy usually have an annual man's trip to Vegas. This time they wanted to step it up big for Steve's 40th by going to Brazil. The issue was Derek and Roy told their ladies about the trip, but Steve carried on as if he was still going to Vegas and never told his woman. She found out by seeing pictures that were posted by Roy. What would you do in this situation? Remember, ladies, it was Steve's birthday trip. So, how would you feel if you were the woman of Steve and he said he was going to Vegas? That was their typical trip, but you see some pictures posted, maybe not on your timeline, or it might come up on somebody else's thing that you were strolling through looking at, and you see these pictures of them in Brazil. How are you going to handle it? Because we know the negative connotation that comes with not that same thing couldn't go down in Vegas. I mean, I know the slogan what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas, but something about Brazil that um, ladies have a hard time. And it's not that a lot of guys make those type of trips on a regular basis anyway, but clearly these are some guys and buddies, and that's what they did. They always had a yearly little trip, and it's nothing wrong with that if you have good intentions, because I know y'all ladies have y'all little trips as well that y'all do. So I don't know. I think I think when y'all might have those trips, men use that opportunity to maybe junk up the house, drink, not wash dishes, just lounge around, and don't have to hear your mouth for those 3, 4, 5 days. Okay, definitely said, why intentionally lie about the trip? He should have said something straight up from the jump, and why not make it a couple's trip? Why would he want to take Sam to the beach? Daphne, are you serious? Why did they have to make it a couples trip when this was their time? This was their time for themselves, and their ladies probably already did a trip with their friends, so not buying into the couple's trip, but he could have said something, but maybe, remember, KYP, know your personnel. Maybe he knew she would have flipped her wig and would have said, absolutely not, you're not going to that. And maybe they had a history of, there could have been some infidelity going on, and she doesn't trust him. So anything could have came out. I'm not saying he should have lied, but I'm just playing devil's advocate. I would like to know why Steve lied. Well, I'm done. I think that may have been something to do with it. Maybe he knows his woman, and because you know that sometimes you may have someone, and she may have been, you know, I don't know how the cell phone works that far, the international plan or whatever the case is, would he have service or whatever. But if possible, she probably could have been blowing up his phone or trying to reach out to him every half an hour to make his trip miserable. And I know what y'all comeback is to say it will sound like he shouldn't be with her, but it might be real. Who knows? They may have children together or whatever the case may be. And maybe it may be better to keep her than to let her go. I'm just putting it out there, playing devil's advocate. Um, any guys, if you have any feedback on why you think Steve wasn't up front with her, please chime in. Daphne said if they're all married, if she flipped her wig, he should have said something months in advance. And by the time the trip came, she would have been salty, but he would have been able to go. Really? Really? I wonder if that really would work. That by the time it comes around, she would have been like settled down. Or as it got closer, she would start acting up more and doing little things to try to break his spirits. I don't know. So, how would he feel if she and her friends went to, say, Jamaica? Uh, Again, sometimes guys may be willing to flip that cost to say, "Man, I got 5 days or a week. She's not going to be here. She's going somewhere with her buddies. That means I can shut up the house, eat pizza, wings, beer, and all I gotta do is clean up before she comes, and I can just chill and relax with no worries." I don't know. They might like that deal and say, "Carry on in Jamaica or something." I don't know. What do y'all think? Others besides um, Daphne, Michelle, anybody else got any feedback on why Steve lied, and how would you feel if your woman went to Jamaica with other ladies? All right, here's another one. Remember we was talking about the way things used to be, and things will never be the same. Now, when I posted this, Tanika McIntosh, good people from BNS, when I posted this, I have to believe a lot of y'all ladies were lying. Um, and this is what the post was. I said, there used to be a time when dark skinned men or boys would get no rhythm from the ladies or girls because it was all about the light skinned curly haired guys. Wow, times have certainly changed. Dan said, just tell me the truth and I wouldn't be upset. Well, I like your spirit, Donna, that you seem like you can take it and you can deal with it and you just move forward. I wonder how many other people can handle it. Some people can't handle the truth. So back to this, time when dark skinned men and boys would get no rhythm from the ladies or girls. Katie Hayden, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Because it was all about the light skinned curly hair guy. I've seen so many women on there say, I always like dark skinned guys. I always like my chocolate. I never was into light skinned guys. Again, we all come from different walks of life and different circumstances, and I'm only looking through my lenses. I just can remember that it was all about the LB shirt, the princes, the people with the curly hair, I don't know, Smokey Robinson, whoever, I don't know, Lionel Richie. Uh, and I'm being facetious right now with some of those characters, but I can remember uh, that was the case vividly. And guys, really, the dark skinned guys, to me, probably started getting their shine like in the 90s, early 90s, late 90s. And that wasn't always the case. And that, and like I said, I'm looking through my lenses, and that's what I saw. Definitely. My mom was dark and my dad was light, and my parents taught me to like people who like me, no matter what color they were. Michelle said DeBarge. Oh, hell yeah. Chico and whoever DeBarge, time will reveal who's holding Donna now. Yeah, I used to love that type of stuff, whatever. So stop playing, and y'all know what it was. I think when people like Michael Jordan came on the scene, some of y'all probably used to like Wesley Snipes and things like that. That's when dark skinned men start getting their props. But before that, it was like it was all about the curly hair guys. Oh, he has good hair, this and that. Oh, he has nice skin. You heard all of that type of stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up, but that's what I can remember those times. Now, it used to be. I remember these times. It used to be that men were the only ones that ripped and ran the streets, and women were home safe. Now some women are out every damn weekend with the overnight booty bags in the trunk. So with that, ladies, in them streets real hard. In reality, there were not too many dark skinned men were visible. Yeah. As far as entertainment, but then, as a couple of them start arriving on the scene, I think that's when things have changed. But what's up with these ladies that's ripping and running the streets all the time? And you know what happens when you rip and run the streets all the time? Eventually, you start looking old as hell and tired. So, granted, everybody's entitled to have fun, but sometimes you just got to do it in moderation. And it takes its toll on you. Not Wesley, he doesn't like black women. Okay, I mean, he probably doesn't. I'm not sure what his style is that doesn't take away that y'all thought he was fine as hell. D. Lawrence, thanks for joining. How you doing? Still don't take away from that, Michelle, that y'all thought Blade or what was his name in what was that movie? Jungle Fever. I forgot his name. They used to put names and movies and stuff. Just can't think right now. Long day, but yeah, I know what it is. Uh, but yeah, ladies, you gotta do stuff in moderation. Can't be hitting that club and stuff every night, real hardcore, or every weekend. But who am I to say? I'm just a counselor. Don't mind me. I'm being judgmental and all. All right. And this is from one of my people in my group. In fact, everybody should join the Counselor's Corner because we have these dynamic good conversations on a daily basis. And I encourage all of you to drop posts in there and come up and create your own scenarios or come up with stuff and let's expand it and have more people um, participating more. Uh, yeah, Michelle said Christopher Williams. Yep, remember that too. But then once he got treated like mistreated in New Jack City, he fell off the map, and he was like a big sucker after that. But he definitely was that dude, especially as I was saying, one of my most willing participants in the council corner is shout out to Margaret Lee for always dropping posts and challenging and making people think outside the box with different scenarios. So DC Cardell was good, people. Um, Andre and Tiffany were at the altar about to do the damn thing, and when the pastor stated, "Does anyone object?" Suddenly, Denisha, his ex, stands up and yells out, "Wait, you can't marry her. I am pregnant with your child. What would you do if you were Tiffany or Andre?" And that was a scenario um, by Margaret. And one of the things people kept saying was, well, how did she even get into the wedding? And if it's an invite only, and then other people kind of countered with, if it was in the church, anybody could walk in, like, and who's gonna stop them? So, that was the little basic stuff. But some people said they would still get married, and they would handle the situation after. Or some people say, oh, they need to stop, they need to figure this out. So I guess who's to say what would happen if that situation would happen? But that would have to be a devastating event, and man, one of the happiest days of your life, and then to have someone rain on your parade like that with that news, man, that's deadly. Diamond says she don't like pretty men. So you said, so you don't think it could be any pretty dark skinned men who think they're pretty? Just a question. All right, so what would y'all do if you were about biggest day of your life, about to get married, somebody else pops up saying she pregnant and tells your future soon-to-be husband that he can't marry you because she's pregnant? How would you handle it? Please chime in. I'm going to move along with the another scenario that was given by my friend Margaret Lee. Your husband Donovan had a nice career going as a supervisor of a top construction company, but his passion was music, something that gave him the greatest thrill. He decides to quit his job to follow his passion. Will you hold the family down? If so, how long are you willing to do so? And what would be your reaction to Donovan's decision? Okay, you don't like what he meant. Yes, it's definitely devastating to one's relationship. Yep, it is really heartbreaking, embarrassing, devastating. Don't know, really don't know how do you come back from that after probably the awes and the wows and all that stuff from the other people. Um, I don't know. That would be a hard pill to swallow. Now, did y'all hear the last one about Donovan giving up his career to his nice supervisor of a top construction company to follow his dream and to quit his job to follow his dream of music? How long would you support his dream, and what would be your initial reaction? Nicole Bass, good evening, and thank you for joining Controversial Counselor's Corner. So, give me some feedback on that. If you're a man working, nice job, but got tired of doing the same old thing over and over, and wasn't passionate about it, had a good living, good earning, but it just wasn't his thing. He wanted to do something else. He wanted to follow his dream. How long would you be willing to be in his corner, and what would be your initial reaction if he didn't tell you and he just hauled off and did that? I don't want to fight my man for the use of the mirror. You're still talking about the pretty boy, huh? First of all, Donovan should have sat down with his wife before this major financial decision that will have an effect on the family. Well, this is the caveat to that, and my rebuttal to that. Definitely What if he said to himself, um, I already know what she's gonna say, and she's gonna be negative about it and try to convince me not to do it. So I'm just doing it. This is what I believe in. I believe this is gonna work. I'm not telling anybody. I'm just walking in there one day to my job, giving my 2 week notice. I got a few dollars saved up, and I'm just gonna go with it because this is what I want to do. I'm tired of just doing stuff just to get paid and you know, living a decent life, but I want to do something that makes me happy. So maybe that might have been the reason why he didn't say anything. He just said, "Man, I'm following my heart," and hopefully his woman will, join forces and you know, work it out with him. All right, got a couple more. We're working with like 14 minutes left. I definitely appreciate participation. Like I said, I would be, I'll be all over throwing different things at you. With major responsibilities, you can't get up and quit and put that burden on your partner. That's selfish. Um, I guess my comeback would be for that is sometimes people are taught that they need to be, when you're trying to accomplish a goal, you might have to be a little selfish. So I don't know, maybe that's where that came from. And I'm not saying what you're saying is incorrect. You're dead on. You're dead on with that. But it's just some people just handle stuff differently, and they feel like they got to make a run and they got to do what they got to do at that particular time. This should have been discussed. Michelle said before he quit. Is he planning to try it for a certain time period? And if it doesn't work, return to the previous career? Yeah, good question. Good question. No, my phone is dying, so I'm going to be holding it. 13 minutes. Yeah, I guess that would be the smart thing to do is to give yourself amount of time to see if it works. And if it doesn't, then maybe you could return back to your job or maybe take like a, maybe you take a leave of absence or something. But definitely, I think that time frame should be considered should be considered in order to see if it's going to be something that works for you. You have to figure out how to do both that could be satisfy both of his needs. Yeah, that's true. But sometimes you have jobs that just, now don't get me wrong, I have my passions, but I'm not about to quit my job to go and pursue that full time. And you have to find, like you said, Daphne, a good balance to try to get both in. But sometimes time is all could be always a major concern. There's never enough time in the day to try to balance it out on everything that you do. So maybe he just felt like he had a sense of urgency. So wish the brother well. But I guess in most cases you probably should have a discussion with your partner as far as that. I got another one. Um, Asia's best friend Karen died a year ago, and she asked could Asia help Jerry with the children. Asia and Jerry became very close, and it appeared strong feelings have developed. If Jerry considered getting remarried, he proposed to Asia. Would she be wrong if she accepted? So I know some of you believe in, the principles, or you have your values of saying, I'm not about to be dealing with nothing my friend had, or whatever the case is. But what do you do in a situation like this when, you know, your friend tells you, like, listen, he's gonna need some help with them children. Are you, could you help him out? And, maybe she's the godmother. I don't know. But then eventually, with her being around, helping him out, they feelings grew for each other, and he decided, hey, uh, they ended up he ended up proposing to her, and maybe, you know, getting married. So, what do y'all think about that? Like, is that definitely out of the question? Would she be wrong? How would you feel? Would you feel like betrayal to your friend that's passing? You know she's not around anymore, but how would you handle that situation? So chime in with that one while I move on to the next one. Then we can always go back. Change of heart. Before they got married, Anne was told by Thomas he would not re-enlist back into the service because he did not want to be away from her too long. Plus, he was ready to start a family. But all of a sudden, he had a change of heart and signed back on for 4 more years. How would you handle this decision? And that was from Margaret, a scenario from Margaret that she left in the counselor's corner. So here you have it, someone who tells you one thing before you get married that, once his army stint is over, he's going to walk away and he's not going to re-enlist because he doesn't want to be away from you that long and eventually he wants to start a family. But then he has a change of heart and decides that he wants to sign back on for 4 more years. Like how disheartening is that? So how do you handle that? Do you look into it and say, well, is this something that we can relocate? I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. You are my man, you my king, or whatever the case is. How would you handle that? CL Slate, thanks for joining. So good, good, good scenarios and situations to think about. So how would you handle that one without guy re-enlisted for 4 more years after telling you that that's not his game plan? He didn't want to be that far away from you, and he eventually wants to start a family. Now this is the one I talked about this stuff before and got a lot of grief from, especially uh, about the paper plates and feeding your king on good plates and stuff like that. That was a heat up. So Auntie Millie stated she saw this topic of feeding your king on paper plates floating around. And she said, you ladies have her, you know what, thinking all she did was cook and clean. She held down the job as well and did everything you ladies are doing. She stated the difference was she didn't need to spend hours on homework because her children went to school to learn and not to socialize. So stop making excuses on why you can't do something and just do the damn thing and be happy you have someone. So that was from Aunt Millie. She's kind of raw and has no filters and she speaks her mind. So she's saying the hell with all of that stuff like feeding your man on paper plates because you don't want to wash dishes and all that stuff. She says you know, she washed dishes, she worked her job, she did all this. She said one of the key differences, she didn't have to sit down with little Jimmy and spend 3 hours of doing homework because his ass went to school to learn and he paid attention. Unlike this generation of kids that now you're talking about cooking and but you gotta serve it on paper plates because you don't have time to wash dishes because you're spending too much time helping the children with homework. She said she did all that. She did it all. And she said, stop complaining and do the damn thing. Does anybody got anything to say about Auntie Millie's response on that? Because I know when I posted it before, somebody said, tell Auntie Millie to shut the hell up and keep busting those suds. Oh man, what is time fly by? It's like 5 minutes left, whatever. So if y'all got anything to say about Aunt Millie or the guy who re-enlisted back into the service, uh, hit me up uh, or respond back on that one. All right, and finally, like I said, yeah, I know I like to self disclose. So over the weekend, ran into a guy, and me and him had kicked it about. And this is a story I always tell my brothers and tell my friends that when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I posted it on social media. I was told that I had should go to camp because I was so quiet, and it would help me uh, socialize better, to be away, and to do something different. So my mother and father signed me up for camp. Wasn't sure where it was at that time, but I guess after talking to him, he said it was in Lockport, which I know Lockport isn't. It's only like 20 minutes away from Niagara Falls, but that joint seemed like it was forever. Like a week away, that you ain't used to being away. Maybe the only person I ever stayed at, the place I ever stayed was two places: my grandmother's house or my aunt's house. And I just was nervous as hell about going to camp, but I had to give him a shout out when I saw him. Chrissy Poole was good. So I said, I remember as an 8 or 9 year old, it was recommended that I go to camp to break out my shyness and to socialize more. Before I got on the bus, my father said to Tino, hey, Tino, look out for little David. Tino, 12 years old, responded, I got you, David. So as the bus gets ready to pull off, and if you know him, you would know how he sounds saying it. And he was like, Tino said, last year there was bears and wolves um, on the campground, but this year I came prepared and pulled out a switchblade. So now I'm shaking in my damn boots like, first of all, they sent me to this damn camp so I can talk more. Now I'm not prepared. This dude pulls out a big switchblade. So now I'm ready to cry on the bus, like, like what is going on here? And he said he came prepared. So I instantly started trembling in fear and thought, why in the hell is my parents sending me there and I don't have anything for protection? Needless to say, I made it through. And Tino checked in with me every day, asking me, okay, are you okay, little man? And I said, thanks, Tino, for easing my fears and keeping your word, looking out for me. Sometimes it's just the little things that mean a lot. So I just wanted to say that because you just never know, like, your role or the little things that you say to people that can kind of help them get through. And at that time, I definitely was going through a lot of anxiety, and he kept his word to my father that he was going to look out. And it was just those little words like, are you all right? You okay? So think about that in your aspect of life. Sometimes just checking on somebody, are you okay? Do you need anything? It goes a long way. So I definitely appreciated that, and that kind of got me through. I don't know if it really helped me otherwise, as far as me socializing more, but it felt good to have somebody to look out. And plus, he was packing that big switchblade. But all right, folks, that's all I have for tonight. I'd like to honor your time. We're approaching the hour, 11 o'clock. I want to thank everybody who dialogued with me because that's what makes it even better, the show, when you have constant feedback going on. So I want to thank the folks that participated. Thank the people that also just tuned in just to listen. And see you guys again next week on WMSK wmskonlineradio.com, the Controversial Counsel's Corner, and everybody have a good, productive rest of the week. Remember, just check on somebody. You don't have to say much. Just check on them, check their pulse, see what's going on, and you'll be surprised the difference that it can make. So I'm out. Remember, listening to you on wmskonlineradio.com, the home of the Cheryl Underwood Show. See you guys.